good. So we are on day 4 of our, it's technically a 4-day back on track series. 5 days if you count the webinar that's coming up tomorrow at 10 o'clock and at 8:30. We've got our webinar. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But today is all about different hacks and tips and tricks to help you to stick with eating clean, with a healthier lifestyle. We need it to be easier. We need these tips and tricks. Otherwise, we're not going to stick with it. So over the past like 6 or so years of really dialing in my nutrition with a healthy living, I've discovered a lot of different tips and tricks. Life has gotten a lot busier here. I thought life was busy when I had my daughter, when she was a baby. Well, it was pretty busy. She was kind of a colicky baby. So I kind of learned to adapt with that. But I thought life was busy when I just had her, and then having another kid. I know some of you have more than that, have more going on. And then with a business now, so I've really had to figure out some different tips and tricks. So I'm going to share that with you today, what I find has worked. So day 4 we're on. So day 1 was all about, if you missed that, the previous videos, scroll back on Facebook and you'll find those. Day 1 was all about meal planning, so tips on that, the importance of that. Day 2 was all about shopping and having your kitchen sort of all set with the ingredients. Day 3 was about meal prep, so the importance of spending at least a little bit of time and the basics to have done in order to help you to stick with eating more whole foods. So I talked a little bit about that. And then day 4, like I said, is hacks and different tips and tricks. So I'll mention, like I said before with the webinar, tomorrow I've got a webinar coming up, or a live training, live class, whatever you want to call it. It's free. And I really dive into my own personal story, my rock bottom moments, what caused me to change, how I made those changes. And then I also dive into what's going on in your body. So there's so many moms are telling me that they are feeling so tired, they're just exhausted, they just don't feel great. The cravings are so intense, they can't stick with their diet because the cravings just take over. So I'm going to dive in and explain exactly what's going on inside your body. It's important to know what's going on because that actually helps with motivation. When you know what's happening, you know how to better get to the root cause of it. So yeah, I'm going to dive into that. What else was I going to dive into? We're going to have a live giveaway in the webinar tomorrow. We are going to have, I'm going to do a quick tour of the Mom or Charge method, or I'm going to talk a little bit about that. That's our 4-week program coming up on January 21st. And I've also got fast action bonuses if you are thinking about that. If you're thinking about the membership at all or the method program, watch the webinar tomorrow because I've got some really good sales coming up. What else do we have? Live giveaway, a free gift too at the end. So you're going to get this webinar. I spent a lot of time creating this because I wanted you to get a lot of valuable information in this. It's about 45 minutes to an hour long. So click the link in the description to register for that, and you can join either our 8:30, just sit back with your cup of coffee and just watch it, follow along at our 8:30 one, or it's 10 a.m. is the first one on Friday, and then 8:30 p.m. Is the other one. So don't miss that, especially if you're interested in possibly joining the membership or the method to get the bonuses that expire right after that. So let's dive into today's topic. Need a sip of coffee. So hacks, I wrote down some things because I tend to get off track a little bit. If you have any hacks as I go through this, any tips or tricks that work for you, post that below. I love to get sort of a conversation going with this. Or if there's anything that I'm saying that you're thinking you're going to try out, let me know. Also, any of the comments this week, get a ballot. Any posts, like any recipe posts or comments or anything like that, get your name into the giveaway tomorrow. So post a comment, anything. It's an easy way to get your name in. So I'm watching that and I'm marking it all down. Okay, so one of the hacks, first of all, it's going to be a couple lifestyle type things, and these help you to, these relate to actually eating healthier. So number 1, getting enough sleep. I've talked about this in a live before, so get enough sleep and also go to bed earlier. A lot of us are not getting enough sleep. A lot of us are staying up too late. You know, you get the kids to bed and you want that time to yourself because it's like that's your only free time. And I hear you. Like I love that too sometimes, but I personally have noticed a huge difference if I get the kids to bed. The kids haven't been, we're trying to get back on track with them. They've been staying up a little bit too late. We get them to bed and then I'm getting ready for bed right after. I'll put a podcast on and kind of like listen to that and fall asleep to that often. But that's my routine. And then I get up earlier and I love that morning time. It's way more productive. So I've done an entire live on this before. I won't dive into it too much, but that has been huge for me. So number one, getting enough sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to crave carbs. You're going to be too tired to make healthy recipes. So that's huge. Make sure that's in check. Number two, like I said, wake up earlier is another hack. This has really changed my life, and I did a whole Facebook Live on it because it makes such a difference. So I have a planner, and I've had a planner, even though I don't have especially a few years ago, like it's not like I had a whole lot of like to-dos and all that. Like I didn't have a whole lot of things scheduled, but having a planner I find is so nice, especially if you're a person that likes to have to-do lists and check things off. So I wake up earlier, I have my planner out. I've got a whole series of things. Sometimes I get these things done, sometimes I don't, but my morning routine, I can probably link the video to that if you're interested in that. But sometimes I'll do like a gratitude journal and all that. But for the healthy eating hacks, the biggest thing is to have a planner and sort of write down what you're going to be doing that day, mainly in terms of even like what you're going to be eating that day, what you're going to make for supper. So you might have if you have a weekly plan, have a look over that and know, like, if you're following it exactly, you're good to go. If you're not, if you are taking like that recipe and you're going to have it here, make sure you have sort of intention set of what you're going to eat that day. So especially in the first few weeks, first month of getting back on track, this can be really helpful. So I have my planner at the bottom of my planner, like of today's plan or whatever. I put in, because on the top I've got all my other like kind of to-dos. In the bottom I put in like food for today, especially if I'm really trying to dial it in. So that might be like, I might even just write down smoothie to make sure I get in a smoothie that day. I might say like, okay, I've got this left over in the fridge. I'm going to do a salad at lunch. Supper, I'll write down like, oh, I'm going to make this for supper. Snacks, this is like a snack idea. So I'll write all that down. So I kind of have an idea, starting off the day, I have an idea of what my day is going to look like food wise. I've set that intention. So when it comes to afternoon or when it comes to lunchtime, if I've already kind of thought that over, then I'm more likely to stick with that versus making a sandwich or eating a cookie or something like that. So taking a few minutes for that is important. I love that time to myself in the morning. Just before the kids wake, I'm in such a better mindset. So that kind of, I feel like that trickles through the rest of the day. So that's another reason why I would like to wake up earlier. So that's another, I guess you can call it a hack. And the most important part with that is sort of like looking at your meal plan. Because you can have your meal plan made out, or you can be in the membership and you have your meal plan, but you completely forget about it. You know, it takes a little bit of time to get in that routine of looking at that every day and actually utilizing it. If you spent that time on the weekend making your own plan or whatever that is, actually make set aside time to actually look at that meal plan. It seems so simple, but that's where we can go wrong quite often. We just kind of forget, oh yeah, I had that meal plan. I didn't even look at it. So yeah, that's one. Another one is have a plan. So speaking of meal plans, actually having a plan. Talked about this lots in day one, but this is sort of a tip and trick to eating healthy. So I'm just going to go over it real quick. Having a plan. If it's not always a weekly plan, so if you're not really into the weekly meal plans, at least having that daily plan. So kind of like I mentioned just a minute ago, within the morning, taking a few minutes and planning out, like, know what you're going to make for supper, or if you have leftovers that you know that you have that, know what you're going to have for a snack. And of course you can have some fluctuation in the day. Like I'll sort of jot down things that I'm going to have in the morning, my plan, but then I can change. You know, if I feel like an apple with nut butter and dates or something for snack, then I'll just do that. But just having that plan helps. Be prepared is another big one. So that was day 3, being prepared. So doing a little bit of meal prep is huge. So have healthy food ready to go. I'm not going to dive into, because I did that yesterday, but that's a huge trick, is actually having stuff ready to go. Be prepared for when you are busy, when you're tired, when you're craving things. In those moments, you don't want to go for the whole foods based meal or snack. But if you have like a healthier muffin, or if you have like some seed crackers, or say it's lunch and you have a bowl of soup in the freezer or in the fridge, then then you're a lot more likely to stick with that. So being prepared is huge. So if you didn't see video number 3, day number 3, go back and have a look at that for some meal prep tips. Or if you're in the membership, then have a look at the prep guide. Make sure you're following that. You can even print it out, put it on your fridge. It tells you exactly every day what to do, so you're staying on track. So actually, I listed some ideas for being prepared. Some different things are like having trail mixes on hand, having bars. There's so many healthy bar recipes, like high protein, high fat, and those you can just throw in the fridge. Or throw in the freezer so that they're always there. So having stuff like that ready, having salads, soups, having freezer meals. So if you do like a soup or stew or lasagna or whatever you're doing, double the recipe and then put it in smaller containers for in the freezer. That can really help being prepared with freezer meals. Smoothie packs is another idea. I generally just throw together a smoothie within just a couple minutes. But if you're kind of newer to smoothies, you're not really sure what to put in it, then smoothie packs can really help. So you're going to put in some like frozen berries, some frozen banana. You can even throw some protein powder in there, like in a Ziploc bag. You can throw in like a spinach cube or even some fresh spinach. Whatever you want to throw in your smoothie, put it into a Ziploc bag, throw it in the freezer, and then all you have to do is dump that bag into the blender and then add some liquid to it and you're good to go. So being prepared is a huge tip. Don't bring junk into the house is another one. Especially if I'm tired and I'm craving things, then I'm a lot more likely to reach for that. If it's not there, then I'm gonna choose something else. So that's important. Another one is for picky eaters. So a lot of us have picky eaters. We want to start trying new recipes. We want to get eating healthier, but we know that we're going to be making multiple suppers for our kids, sometimes even for our husbands. So if you got a picky eater, I've got some tips with that. I've got one that's a really picky eater and one that he'll eat pretty much anything. So with my picky eater, what we do is I follow a lot of recipes that she normally wouldn't really like. I still do those because I love those, but we'll switch things up a little bit. So and I don't make like a whole different meal for her. So we always have, like you saw in the last video, we always have a tray of raw veggies, a variety of raw veggies in the fridge. So she likes raw veggies. She loves cucumbers. She likes carrots, and she'll eat a few different raw veggies. So I always put that on the table. If she doesn't like our cooked broccoli or our salads, then she can choose from that. Often I'll give her, like if we have broccoli or if we have Brussels sprouts or zucchini noodles or something like that, I'll give her one piece for her to try because that's important too, I find. If you're the type of mom that you're making one meal and your kids are going to eat it or they're going to go hungry, I applaud you for that. I just feel like I don't have that effort to have that fight every night. So I kind of wish I could do that, but I don't. So this is kind of my sort of happy medium, is she's eating vegetables that she likes, and she's eating she'll eat a lot of those vegetables. Another hack with that too, if you want kids to eat more vegetables, put that veggie tray out when you're preparing supper. Often they're saying like, I'm hungry, I want a snack. I put that veggie tray out on the couch with them while I'm making supper, and they eat so much of it. So it'll be like 15-20 minutes before supper and they're just snacking away on that and they don't even realize. So when supper comes, they've filled up on vegetables first. So with the picky eaters, with the dinners, she like I said, she's got the raw veggies there, and they have to try one of the things, just a small, even at least a bite of what we have. If it's like a lower carb meal, and there's not much in there that they'd like, then I might make some gluten-free noodles. Sometimes I'll do like Annie's mac and cheese. Occasionally, sometimes I'll put some rice on. So I find that's not too bad. It's just one pot, something like that. So then and then with the protein. So if there's a meat, it's kind of mixed in with a sauce or lasagna or whatever it is. Usually after I cook that meat, I'll set it aside so that it's plain. She likes, and a lot of picky eaters like things just plain. So if it's chicken that's going in that dish, I cook it, and then, because with most dishes, unless you're cooking it all together, it can be tricky. If I'm cooking it all together, sometimes I'll pick it out, like chunks of chicken or whatever, if it's easy enough to do that. But otherwise, most of the recipes, you cook the meat first, so then I set some aside plain, and then I put the rest in the dish. So that's most of our nights. That's what it's like, unless she'll eat what we're eating. So that's what we personally do. Some of the things, so she always has raw veggies. If it's a meal she doesn't eat, so I wrote down it's either like gluten-free noodles. I'll make some home fries, so potatoes that are baked up. That not as much unless I actually have the oven going. Rice is easy, and she likes that. Sometimes even I'll just, for like a starch, I'll throw in a piece of toast, just to keep it easy. We try not to do that too often, so she'll have the meat, toast, and vegetables. So those are my main tips with picky eaters. Other tips for healthy eating is if you want to eat more fresh produce. So having fresh fruit on the counter, if you've got like a nice fruit bowl, having apples, oranges, bananas, pears, all that, on your counter in a bowl, you're a lot more likely to eat that when it's right there. So the afternoon you want a snack, or the morning you want a snack, you'll probably reach for that a lot more often. Same with kids. They'll say, I'm hungry. Instead of asking for Cheerios or granola bar, they might ask for like a banana or something. Another tip is having a jug of water. So most of us need to drink more water. Most of us are like chronically dehydrated. I myself drink way too much coffee. So this I find helps for me. A jug of water, put that on your counter. Water seems to absorb better actually at room temperature. So I personally like the taste of water at room temperature better. Sometimes I'll put some lemon slices in there, some lime slices to make it prettier, make it a little bit tastier. So I have like I think it's 2-liter jug. Fill that with water. Just plain water, or add some lemon and lime slices to it. And then I see it anytime I go to the kitchen. If you're on the go, then have a big water bottle that you take with you all the time. Make it more enticing by putting the lemon and lime or some mint and cucumber. But having that visible is huge. You can also track how much you're drinking. Normally we have like a zero water. It's kind of like a Brita. I think it's called zero water. And we're constantly refilling that. So I don't really know how much I drink in a day. But if you've got your own jug or your own pitcher, then you can kind of track a little bit. And you can sort of like make goals for yourself. Actually, this was in our 5 days to lasting change. There was a habit tracker. So you can go on Pinterest and try to find a habit tracker if you want to take it to that next step, until it turns into a sort of like a subconscious, unconscious habit. What else do I have? So for recipes, make sure you're keeping them simple. If you're trying to clean up your diet, you want to try out all these new recipes, you want to get rid of all the old, if you're eating way too much junk for suppers and things like that, don't make it too complex. Like, try to have the simple suppers, especially if you're planning out like 7 suppers in a week. That can be way too much. So keep it simple, keep the recipes simple, eat leftovers, simple snacks, utilize, like, you don't always have to be having like muffins and healthier muffins and bars and like complex snacks. You can just have like apple and nut butter. Another thing is utilizing shopping services. So Superstore Click and Collect is something that I use quite often. Now there is Save on Foods. Save on Foods is a good store to shop at for more healthier items, gluten-free items, things like that. Walmart now has a shopping service, so utilize that if you're not a huge fan of shopping. If you're busy, make that part of your routine, your meal plan. Order your groceries online, pick up, do some prep, especially if you're adding in a little bit more like meal planning time and more meal prep time. Save time in that shopping department then. So another thing is, another one is utilizing meal planning services too. So if you're finding that it's too complicated knowing what to eat, finding different recipes, finding recipes that aren't too complicated, finding ways to make it easier, then meal planning services can help too. I've got the Mummer Charge membership, as I've mentioned a few times on here. So there's that. If you're interested in checking that out, watch for the webinar on Friday, attend that, and I've got a special on there for you. So I think that's about it. I've got to pick up my son pretty soon, so I kind of hurried up through the last little bit. I hope that helped. I hope you guys have loved this series. If you missed any of them, go back and watch them. Any other things you want me to talk about, any questions you have, just let me know. But I will be on tomorrow live on our webinar. Check the link for that, join that. We're really going to dive deep into what's going on, exactly how I eat, give you some really good tips on all that. So we'll see you tomorrow, guys. Bye.